Hey, this is Jeff Rogers, and I am holding in my hand a brand new chef skillet that I got from the Lodge Factory Outlet Store in Commerce, Georgia. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, what do you do with a brand new piece of Lodge cast iron? Do you strip it and reseason it? And the answer for me is yes. I always strip and reseason because I have a very specific method on what I do with my cast iron. So what I'm going to talk about today is, what do I do with a brand new piece of Lodge cast iron? The first thing I do with a piece of Lodge cast iron is strip the seasoning layer off. There's several ways to do this, and you might want to do some research on the internet on how you do it, but I either use the electrolysis method or I use my self-clean oven. With this skillet, I will put it in my electrolysis tank in the garage. With this skillet, I will put it in my self-clean oven, and probably in about an hour or so is good enough to strip a layer like this. So I'm going to strip both of these skillets, show you what they look like after stripping, and then show you what to do next. Okay, I'm downstairs in the garage, and this is my electrolysis tank that I built. You can see that the water is kind of funky because I've cleaned a number of pieces in here. But I'm going to submerge the skillet in the electrolysis tank, get the battery hooked up to it, and we'll have some action. Alright, and then with this skillet, I'm going to put it in my self-clean oven. I think because the seasoning layer isn't that thick, I think 1 hour in the self-clean oven is going to be fine for a Lodge cast iron skillet. So, into the oven, always upside down. Close that, lock it, and put it on self-clean, and we'll let it go for an hour. This is what a stripped Lodge skillet looks like. One of these I was going to clean in my electrolysis tank, but the plates were so corroded and I need to replace them, so the process just wasn't working well enough. So both of these got put into a self-clean oven and stripped them nicely. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and hit these with my wire wheel a little bit. As you know, Lodge skillets are a little bit rougher than some of us would prefer, so I am going to get some of the roughness out of it with my wire wheel. This skillet has been wire wheeled, and when I wire wheel a skillet, it's not to try to get the skillet perfectly smooth, it's just to take the roughest parts off of it. So this has been wire wheeled, and this is ready to be scrubbed once again. Wash with soap and water, and then we will begin the seasoning process. After going over these with my wire cut brush, it's really important to give them a good scrub before I season them. So to do that, I'm going to use some grade 00 steel wool and just some regular old dish soap. Normally I use ivory liquid, but this is all I have today, so this is what I'm going to use. So let's give these a good scrub. A little bit of soap and water inside and out. It doesn't take much because when they come out of the self-clean oven, they're really clean, so it doesn't take a whole lot at all. You can see how clean that already is. Okay, for my last rinse, I'm going to rinse it with ice cold water, as cold as I can get the water. And that helps keep the flash rust off for some reason. So your last rinse, you always want to use cold water. Can't remember who I learned that from, but it works. That skillet's nice and clean. Went over it with my wire cut brush. It's a little bit smoother than it was when I bought it. And I've got an oven that is preheated to 200 degrees. And I'm going to dry this as good as I can and then get it in the oven. I'm going to let the skillet preheat to 200 degrees, and then I'm going to start the seasoning process, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, this skillet should be just about to 200 degrees now. Helps to kind of open up the pores of the iron. We're going to be seasoning with Crisco vegetable shortening. It's what I've always used, and it works really well. I've had good results. So we're going to wipe a liberal amount of Crisco on the skillet. You can be kind of generous here. Make sure you get the handle really well. You can see that with the skillet being warm, the Crisco melts right onto the skillet. That's great. Alright, then we're going to get the other side. And with a freshly stripped skillet, the oil just kind of soaks right into it. But you don't have to be shy with how much you put on. The skillet's at 200 degrees, so it's not incredibly hot. Okay, once you wipe your Crisco on, you want to wipe it all off. I use this really absorbent paper towel. I'm going to kind of wipe it lightly here. And you think it's all gone, but it's not. There's still a fine layer there. But this will ensure that you get a really nice even seasoning on your skillet. And I do this with not only every Lodge skillet that I get, but every skillet that I buy, whether it's a new skillet or whether it's an antique skillet. I'm going to wipe it all off. And I'm not wiping really hard, just kind of light on this. And then I'm going to put the skillet back in the oven. And once it's back in the oven, I'm going to raise my oven temperature to 300 degrees and set my timer for 15 minutes. Okay, these skillets have been in here for 15 minutes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to wipe this down again. Because like I said, we don't want that oil to pool because we want a nice, even surface with our seasoning. So I'm just going to wipe that really lightly again. You don't have to press really hard, just kind of get it light. And like I said before, there's still a thin layer of oil on there. Okay? So that's good enough, and we're going to go back in the oven. And we're going to raise the temperature of the oven up to 400 degrees, and we're going to let that go for 2 hours. So now you've seen what I do with a brand new Lodge skillet. In the seasoning phase of this, I usually do that 1 to 4 times. I like my skillet to be really lustrous, so I'll do that. You can usually do it 1 time and then begin cooking in your skillet, but it's not going to hurt if you want to do it more. So I hope this video helps, and I'll see you next time.